Hello, this is Michael Palasek. This is the I Just Got My Kid to Sleep podcast, episode 25. Oh, wow, 25. I almost forgot the name of the podcast. Did you feel it? Did you sense this is? Because you know what else this is? What else this is? This is the last day of the trip. This is our final recording day, not for the podcast. This is gonna continue, but this is the last time in the thing that looks like a broom closet. I didn't put that broom here; it was naturally here, and I just thought it fit. Sweeping up the weekend with I Just Got My Kid to Sleep podcast. This is the last time. For a while. We're going back home. We were in the Illinois area. Here's one of the best things about being a parent. With parents who really want to see their grandkids a lot, I could probably just keep staying here. I feel like if I wasn't a parent and I just wasn't I just don't want to, if for some reason I didn't have a job or working or whatever, my parents would be like, you gotta figure that out. But with a kid, everyone just, they're happy to see it. Anyway, this is the final for a while. So enjoy, screenshot it if you have to. You can impose it over the next. I don't know if you know how to do that. That's probably not worth it. That's a lot of work to just watch it with the thing that looks like a broom closet. But this is episode 25 of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. Jackson is asleep, and it's a late one. We're flying back tomorrow. Tomorrow is today. That's how late is tomorrow. I got the late flight tomorrow for a kid. We're not leaving till the afternoon. So the idea, the dream, the hope, the prayer, the belief is that he might sleep. He might sleep, and then I can sleep, and then we wake up comfortably and go to the airport easily and stroll on the plane calmly and have a nice, fine flight. What do you do when you fly? Well, when I fly, I asked you, but now I'm not you. I'm not pretending to be you, just in case. I'm me, but I asked you. If you couldn't, I asked you for sure. So I as a parent, when I fly, I don't have any expectations of getting anything done because, it's a long flight out west. I'm not complaining. Our ancestors, well, not my ancestors specifically. I'm the first one. I almost said, did you know that? Did you know? Because I say that all the time. Did you know? My son used to say that a lot. Did you know? Now my son says, oh, come on. That's my favorite Jack phrase right now. Come on. Come on. And it's my favorite because 5-year-olds don't have a lot of real things to say, come on, to, because he means it. He's not I'm putting a little bit of humorous inflection, in my opinion. I'm punching it up a little bit but he's just like, come on, and it's just, he's like, what? I can't think of anything. I can't think of any examples. We were playing a board game earlier, and there was a simple rule that he didn't do correctly, and he's like, come on. So that's an example. On the airplane, I don't really have expectations when I'm a parent. When he was a baby, if you have a baby, you can fly whenever you can fly. It's much easier to fly than it will be for a while. I think I shouldn't build it up that way. I know that it's always easy for everybody. It's easy. Nice of the air conditioning unit to go off. Thank you everybody for that. It's been really hot here. We have a little bit of condensation on the pipes. I'll have to get the super to look at that. The landlord? What is the superintendent? It's something I was thinking. It's that's a school thing, but I guess it's also you can have a super in a building. But I just call mine a landlord. When I refer to the person who runs my building, I like to reference religious worship along with the land I'm on. I know that's not what it means, but it goes back to lords and ladies. That's not really a fair, female equivalent. Who's that? That's the Lord. Who's that lady? There should be a more That's the Lord. And who's that? Well, she is the all-powerful woman. Not a lot of, I'm not firing on all. This has been, I think, this has been 12 days here and 17 solo, like just parent all the time. I went on the road for like one day, a couple days, a couple weeks. And when I'm home, my parents help out, but I really like being awake during the day, because if you're not awake all day, what are you even doing? You know, like I took a nap, I think 2 times in this trip, maybe 3. And it was fantastic and I loved it. But at some point it was just like, well, we're just gonna enjoy it because he's going back to school. I think that, like, I see the Instagram videos. I'm bouncing around and I'm not even meaning to. What do you do on a plane? That's what we were talking about. So I feel like if you have a baby, it's easier to fall asleep, or it's easier to fall asleep for sure on a plane, but it's easier to fly because you can hold them and they're not super heavy or whatever. And they just fall asleep on your shoulder. And if they cry, like, don't worry about it. If you're a parent on a plane, do not worry about anything your child does. Because I'm the only one that matters in this scenario. I know that that's not on you. I know it's not. Like, one time I was on a plane and it looked like a grandma, like, and I don't know, not to judge grandmas, but she was just like, the baby was crying and she was just like, shh, 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 as she was like rocking them because the baby was crying, and it's like, shh. She kept getting louder with the shh, 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 shh. Like, I don't think the baby's picking up on it, ma'am. Shh, 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 shh. Like, I think they're feeling your stress more than anything else. Shh. Part of me just want to be like, shh, just to you. Not the baby can cry all she wants. Shh, shh, shh. This is just, stop with the shh, 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 shh. Because I feel like that's the stress as the person with the baby crying. It's like, oh no, I'm ruining everyone's life on this plane. Here's a secret that I might be making up, but I feel like if someone's life, if you're not in, maybe it's not, you can have babies in first class, but I feel like if you really don't want to be around that stuff, you can pay extra money, but maybe you can't. But if your life is ruined because of a baby crying on a plane, that chances are those people's lives were going to be ruined by something else on the plane. So don't worry about those people. Those people need to worry about themselves. Here's the thing. I get it when babies cry because I don't feel comfortable on a plane. Every time a baby cries and I hear it, and it's not my own child. Like, when my own child cries, I feel that sometimes of like, oh no, everyone can see this, or like, oh, how do I fix this? But when other people's children cry, I don't have any sense of like, I gotta fix this. But what I do feel is like, oh yeah, I felt that way like 7 times today. I wish I had the capacity to express myself like that, and just go in a corner and just cry. Not that I'm in a depressed, dark state, but I feel like if you really are in tune with what makes you feel, you can cry a lot over happy things, sad things, and not like, oh, I gotta cry, but just the tears well up. Like, sometimes the tears just well up. They well up, and then they're there, and then they start. And I wasn't really allowed to cry growing up. No one ever was like, go to your room because you're crying. But I feel like in the 90s, there was this sense of like parents not wanting their kids to cry. And like, I would see kids get yelled at for crying. Like, what are you crying for? Like, I would see that, and it was just like, well, I'm scared now. So anyway, that's a whole different story. So if a baby's crying on a plane and you're the parent, good. The other people deserve to hear what you go through all day. You know, you are furthering the humanity, the population, by having a baby, by taking care of the baby, by flying with the baby to go through. They should deal with that's your everyday. Don't worry about us. That's what I would say. I feel sensitive about my son being loud when he's not sad. If he's crying, it's like he's crying. He's 5, so it doesn't last as long. He's way more conscious about it. I feel like people my family has been pretty much like, you're so loud to my son. Not like that, very nicely, but just like he gets so excited to talk to people. He's just like screaming. And I think that's what I get sensitive about because not because it bothers me. Well, I think it does a little bit. I feel like when my son screams and it's not a screaming time, it bothers me a little bit. It's like, oh, that is loud. Like I notice how loud it is. But because I've gone through these 5 years with him so thoroughly and epically, and these periods where I'm the main only parent around for weeks, because I've seen all the steps, I'm just happy to hear him not being sad. So when he's excited and loud, I'm like, that's not bad, that's not bad at all. But other people don't like him excited and happy. Not that they don't want him happy, but they don't want him screaming all the time, which it is a good. I feel like everything gets ironed out in school, though, which is maybe not a good parenting technique. Like when I see something that isn't the best, I'm like, yeah, a teacher's not going to stand for that. Like, and yeah, that's probably time to judge me. That's probably a good time to be like, you should read a book about this. You should read a book. Speaking of books, I don't know if you can see. I don't want to change the camera, but we got a whole library over here we can get into. If anybody wants to take a book break, this one looks interesting. Tall Stacks Images. Look at that. That's a real book. So by J. Miles Wolfe. I think it has to do with Cincinnati. I have a brother in Cincinnati, and that was probably a Christmas gift or a birthday gift. Someone looked at that and was like, you know what? I love some of my life so much that it feels tall. It feels tall and stacked up, and this represents that love. So my brother got engaged on one of these boats. Maybe that's why. Maybe they're in this book. Anyways, that's a good place to get engaged. I feel like that's a good place to get engaged. On a boat, if you get someone to go on a boat with you, you know they trust you near water. So that's a first step. That's good. You get someone to go on a boat with you, and you don't always go on boats like nobody does anymore. No one's just like, we got to go to the store, get out the boat. Did you know they used to do that? There were canals in the town I grew up in. They're not working, but there were canals that they were like, this is the best way to move stuff around was boats. And it's not anymore. And I don't know how long. Maybe that was during the railroad days. It's weird when they show you things as a kid that like are real. Like they showed us these empty canals on a field trip. We just went and saw these empty canals, and they're like, this is how we ship stuff from town to town. And there's a street in our town called Canal Street. Well, that's shaky. I just hit the camera thing. And they're like, well, because we had a thing called Canal Days, because to celebrate the fact that at one point in our town we just used canals. We relied on water to ship things around the town. No streets, just some streets probably, but a canal. I mean, there had to be some sort of pavement or whatever at some point. But yeah. And I still don't. I need to do more research now because I don't believe it still. Anyway, I'm centered in the camera, but it's because I'm leaning. But I like leaning. So what are you going to do? If you're flying with kids, feel good about it. I had something else that I was talking about. Oh, and getting engaged on a boat is good because you know that they trust you near somewhere they could die. And that's got to be a positive. Everyone needs a little first step, a little push. Not over at the edge, but like I went on a boat when I went to college in Cincinnati, and we did a little boat trip down the river the week of the senior week, my last week, and it was awesome. Man, it was so fun. It's like the real fun moments in life you don't even think about sometimes. They just kind of happened. And you were in such a happy place that it all seemed to make sense, so it wasn't a big deal. So that's good. I think part of my mental capacity is maybe it's more being a parent is to like remember the happy moments. Like, oh, he looks happy, he's cute, look at him in his grandma's arms, I gotta take a picture of it. When maybe I guess when kids grow fast, it's good to take pictures. This is accomplishing a lot. This part. Oh, the AC's back on. Oh, all right. I just don't want to get any condensation on the wiring. That would be not good for our technical aspects of this podcast. So, you propose on a boat, right? You did something special. They know you did something special. They might have seen it coming. You get a yes. There's other people on the boat to be like, way to go. You get to show the world your love. It's usually like nighttime, so you can be in a private place, but if there's people around, it's going to be okay because they'll get it. Like, they'll get that you're going to propose on the boat. Like, I don't know. I guess if you're really, really in love, you could propose anywhere and not feel embarrassed. But I think there's some places where, I mean, I guess you're proposing, so who cares? Like, this person, I love them. That's part of the gift is like, I bought you a ring, and also I'm going to tell you I love you in front of, all these people at this, I almost said Starbucks. I don't know if anybody's ever proposed at a Starbucks, at this baseball game or this sporting event or whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like I would want to propose somewhere that meant something to the relationship, but was still special. I guess and I think I'd want to do it somewhere where when I did it, people were like, that makes sense. This is a good place to do that. Like, I remember one teacher, how do I remember this? One of my high school teachers said that her husband proposed to her because they like went for a walk or something, or rollerblading or something like that. And they were doing this like river walk, and he had chalked it out ahead of time. And then she saw it, and then she said yes or whatever. Low budget. It's nice. It's cute. It's an idea. It's out there. Take it, use it. Another one of my friends, they went out to a nice restaurant. I think a nice restaurant will be a good place to propose. I like that a lot because it's like you get someone with food in them. They're making a good decision, right? They're not just like hasty. Like, I think Chris Rock talked about that one time in one of the late night shows about how, or maybe it was just like a podcast or something, but how like before you go to a meeting, even if it's a dinner meeting, make sure you eat because you might say yes to anything just to get the food out there. So get the food. And he proposed by, he had a dessert plate that said, will you marry me or whatever? I love you so much. And so when she finished her dessert, it was going to say that. But then she didn't want dessert. Can you imagine? But then he was like, no, we're getting dessert. I kind of like the idea, which is smart, of just being like, all right, we're not proposing today then. Like, which is kind of fun, especially if you talk to her parents ahead of time. Like, oh, she didn't want dessert. Oh, so you didn't? No, she's got to want dessert to get proposed to. Is this good analysis? I think proposals are more taken care of by women, like more thought about and analyzed by women because they experience so many of them. But I think I'd want it to be nice and not super public. But when people saw it, they'd be like, oh, this is a really nice place to do it. But yeah, so a boat is a good place to do that for sure. And then if they say yes, which I think most people when they propose, they know they're getting a yes, right? You got to kind of assume that a lot of people, if you are making the commitment forever to ask, which it doesn't have to be. You can be engaged, and not get married. Isn't that crazy? That you can ask somebody to marry you and you can end up not doing it on your account. You can be like, I changed my mind. That seems weird. Like if you ask someone to dinner and you change your mind, I feel like you should kind of still at least think about a way to put yourself to go because they're hungry, you're hungry. You should probably go to dinner. But if you ask someone to be with you for the rest of your life and they say yes, it is almost appropriate to be like, joking, like at some point in the year or whatever it takes, like, well, and I wonder how many people want to do that and then don't do it, and then their marriage works out great. Because I think there's probably some natural, anxiety. I've heard that before, that if you're not nervous before you get married, then you haven't really thought about it. I'm never really down for people being like, hey, if you're not scared of this thing, then you're not on the right track. I think anytime you have like a fear or an anger or a sadness, we shouldn't say, oh, that's good. Like, it can be good. It can be fine. But I don't think we should be like, oh, like if you meet someone, you want to get married and you love them and you propose and you're not scared, I think it just means you're, confident in your choices. Anyways, it's a good place to propose. I think it worked 1 for 1 for all, as all I know. I don't know. One time I was on a boat, and I was with a person that I was on a date with, and I felt like jumping off the boat, and that relationship didn't go on forever. So not like, and that sounds bad. Oh, I want to jump off the boat. Like the idea of it was like a two leveler, and I love like jumping in water. So we were going down this river or whatever in this boat, and it was during the day too. And it was at a point in my life where I was trying to get in more touch with my intuition. And we all know what intuition means, but I didn't really know what it meant. I feel like I'm a big thinker still now. Maybe I'll try to do this more. I'm a big like figuring it out, processing, analyzing. You could tell from the podcast that it's very structured and put together. And I try to and that there was a moment previous to that moment where like I was just like, I didn't really know what to do. And then I just tried to like ask myself quickly and just go with what I thought was best, what popped in. And it had good results. So I just started doing that. I'd be like, if I came to a fork in the road and something didn't feel quite right, I'd be like, well, what do I think I should do? Which is kind of insane that that's a big step for me is asking myself, what do I think I should do? Because I think people should always do what they think they should do. But I think it was more like, what do I feel like I should do? And sort of trusting that the feeling can always guide you correctly, because deep down, I want to live. And so the feeling, I feel like, got rid of all the extra stuff that I'm considering that's maybe clouding the decision-making process. So what do you like to do when you fly? It's clouding the decision-making process, and it boils it all down to like just this like, how do I get from here to here in my life? And it happens like in, fractions of a second. Like, what do I really want to do? What do I really think? What do I really feel? And it did that. And normally it always made pretty much sense. Sometimes it'd be a little bit like, oh, I wouldn't have thought to just do that, or I wouldn't have thought to just do that, or whatever. But it made sense once I thought about it, and then I did it, and it all worked out. And then one time I was on a boat. This isn't super positive. This isn't the best moment of my life. It was a fun moment, but then I didn't do it. But I was on a boat in a date, and it was daytime, and we were going through the water, and I like the way the water looks when a boat goes through the water, and there was kind of land not far away, and I was standing where you would look out after the boat, like if you're going to jump off a boat. It wasn't high. I wouldn't die. Wasn't sad, but it was just like, it was like a high dive kind of thing. And I was like, in my head, I was standing where you would, and I was like, should I jump? And my body was just like, yeah, just jump. And I was like, well, I shouldn't trust that guy anymore, because that's crazy. I had clothes on. I would have ruined stuff. I had a wallet. I had a phone. And I don't think I would have gotten out of the relationship necessarily. They would have just been like, that guy's crazy. I probably would have gotten in trouble. Like, I don't know. How do you know? I think that's the thing. I think, how do you know that some, like, I remember my parents, I used to talk about it on stage, but my parents got married very young for, they were right out of college or whatever. And, they knew, and they're like, you just know, or whatever. And then I've been in other relationships where I was like, well, I don't feel like, this is, if it seems like it should be easier, especially in the beginning. And then people were like, well, it's hard work and stuff. But I don't think relationship hard work I don't think it should be called hard work, because I think it's kind of just, I don't know. It feels like it's listening and spending time together. Like, I feel like if you're in a relationship and you listen and you spend time together, like, you don't always have to put someone else first. I don't think someone would always want you to do that. But if you listen to them, you might want to. And if you spend time together, that might sound more fun than anything you want to do anyways. And if you don't like spending time with someone and you don't like listening to them, what are you going to do now? I didn't know why this turned into I just got my kid to sleep. Here's my thoughts on relationships. And not in good ones. These aren't positive stories. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not slowing down. We're in the middle of this thing, and I have an example in my head that isn't great, but I'm not holding it back, and it's not horrible. But one of my friends got married, and he talked about how, like, his wife works from home and how he just wants some time to himself because he's married and she's there all the time. Well, what do I as a friend say about that? You know, like it's hard because, yeah, we all want time to ourselves. That's very natural. That's a very natural thing. And maybe I gotta sneeze soon. I feel it. Okay. I feel like that first one was right into the mic. You know, I didn't want anybody to think I was just, not giving it my all. Who's still there? So I feel like wanting to spend time by yourself is very normal. But sometimes I feel like I put that up to the test. Like, if I hang out with someone for a while and I'm happy when they leave, does that mean that we shouldn't be together forever? I don't know. I don't think so. But at the same time, if I'm looking for a good out in my head, I can be like, well, that wasn't fun. I think it's all about steps, you know? I think if you build up to the place where you're getting married appropriately, then, being around each other all the time is going to be normal. But I get people, I just have never been in a situation where I was around someone all the time that I did like and love and wanted to marry and be with and be married to them, but also be like, I wish this would stop. Like, I wish I had some time alone. And it's not fair for me to judge that situation just because I haven't been in it. But it does seem a little bit like ungrateful. Like, you have this person who you have said you loved and you're married to and you're very happy to be, and they're great for you and you're great for them. And you're like, I just want some time to myself. Like, it just feels a little bit, I mean, I guess you could just tell them, right? I think also part of it is getting used to sharing. I think it just goes back to that. I really like, I take care of my son, and I my life is all around him, but I like being the main adult in my world, that I get to sort of decide everything and I don't have to listen and share anything or necessarily check in with people about things. So, yeah. Anyway, what do you like to do when you fly? So when I fly with Jack, I was sleeping a lot because I feel like if he's in the window seat and he wants to get out, he's like, I'll wake up whether he wants me to or not. So I feel like it's fine. Also, there's like flight attendants who are like they're like sky lifeguards, you know? I mean, like, but they're not gonna let anything happen. Not that I was sleeping hard. Is this bad to talk? I think you can fall asleep when you have a baby. I never fell asleep when he was in my arms as a baby anywhere, because that could be really dangerous. But I feel like if I'm hanging out with my kid and he's like watching something on his computer and I fall asleep on his computer, please, it's mine. It's mine, but I have to ask for it. But that's what I mainly do. And I also feel like I never flew ever as a kid. And so I don't really know what it's like from the child's perspective. But I feel like sitting next to your child for 3 hours or whatever is so special. And so even if they're sort of on a screen for a little bit, I just want to enjoy that. Because I travel for work anyway, so I can get stuff done or, sleep or whatever all the time anyway. So I feel like tomorrow I'm going to really try to just be there. But that's where I'm at now, right? Who knows? The last broom closet episode for a long time. That's what's scary, I think, is that Jack is 5 and is going to kindergarten. And when he was in preschool, I felt like I could take him out and we could travel here when I had shows. But with kindergarten, it feels like something that shouldn't happen as often because he's in school. And it's like school. I mean, it doesn't have a number yet, so I don't know if it really counts. But, and maybe it won't. I wish that he was going to like a real school, just for the fact that there would be like this clarity of like he's in school now, because he was in a school and that one closed and it was a great school, and then I thought that he would go to the one for all the kids, either to 5th or 6th grade or to 8th grade, and he would just be the youngest there and start there, and we'd do like a picture of kindergarten, and he'd go away and his toys could like watch him leave. That made me sad recently. Wow. So I'm super having been a parent for a while, so a little worn down. I guess these things can make you more emotional. But I was on Instagram and they had the video of the kid leaving the house with the toys, watching him go, like in Toy Story, I guess. I never got to watch the 4th one because he watched it without me, and I don't resent him for that. I just want to watch it, but I don't. There was a time where he would want to watch it all the time, but we never finish it. And as a parent, if you're watching a movie that's for you, I feel like if I'm doing something that I'm enjoying too, and he's done, and I can go into bed early, I should probably not just be like, no, we're watching this because I want to see what happens. Like, I just can't do that, and I haven't. But then I had to watch Moana the end by myself, and it was a good movie. And it's fun. It's just like I want to share that with him. But like, anyway, so there's the video of the toys, and like, I know my kid plays with toys. He likes toys, but he doesn't have like those iconic. He has a Buzz. He has some things, but he cycles through them pretty quickly. And also like he's got two houses to pick from toys, and he loves video games so much, which I wouldn't have introduced him to video games, even though I kind of did ever. I think it would have been older, but like I think I talked before, he just found a Wii in my closet and was like, we're playing with this. And then it became a part of his everyday life. And I know as a parent, I could be like, we're not doing that. But now it just seems like impossible. I feel like he might have missed out a little bit, but maybe not. That's an emotional thing. Anyway, when my kid goes to kindergarten, like the normal kindergarten schools where we go live, they start at like 8 a.m., or maybe like 8:30, and then they get out at like 2 or 1 of the days. They get out at 1. And I feel like it's very easy for me to be like, drop them off, come home, do whatever, go back, maybe sleep, whatever. But the place he's going now, which is very nice, it's just not something, and maybe I might have bias because I didn't necessarily choose it or pick it or do anything. I just got an email. I usually shut down my notifications. My dad came down before I was recording my podcast because this is their house, what happens. And we're packing up to go, and he asked me something about packing, and it's like the middle of the night. He like woke up to do it, and he was like, it wasn't one of those wake ups where he was upset. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I gotta wake up to tell him this. He woke up naturally. Because I think people do that sometimes. I don't know. My dad said he does that. He wakes up and then he just takes him a while to go back to sleep. And I used to think that was like an older person thing. But it's definitely happened to me before. But maybe the writing's on the wall, Michael. Maybe I'm older. Anyway, I just got an email from Alaska, which Alaska time, it's like not even today yet. It's yesterday. So I think that's true. I'm going to Alaska in a couple weeks. But anyway, relationships, you should love being around them all the time, no matter what. I don't think that's true. But it is weird when you tell someone who's not in a relationship that you're happy and married, but like you just don't like seeing them around the house all the time. It just seems like a little ungrateful. And I don't mean to point out stuff like that, because you should be able to be ungrateful too. Like Rich happy, successful people should be able to complain. They should be able to. But I feel like I should get to call people out on it. Like one of my friends used to talk about how his wife made so much more money than him in a way, as a way to like, oh, I got to make more money. And it just seemed weird to tell that to people who didn't have someone to take care of them like that. Because we might see that as like a good thing, right? Right? Who knows? Probably not. I shouldn't rely on people so much for my content on my podcast. That's not me. Anyway, he's going to a school that kindergarten's the oldest. And when we met them, they're like, well, you can drop him off anywhere between 8 and 9, and he can stay till 5. And which I get if you're like, you have a day job and that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do or whatever. But when I'm home, I'm free all day. I mean, like I work for myself, so I can decide what I want. You know, this podcast is after he goes to sleep. So it would really help me to pick him up at an earlier time, because then I can get him to bed earlier, and then I'm not up as early, or up as late. And also, I just feel like if I can spend more time with him, I want to. And I think this idea that a lot of parents have of like, let's get him into something so I don't have to be around them or work, because it is a job. Like I did realize today, they've said it before, like if your child sleeps 10 hours a day and you're a parent and they're under like, I don't know, whatever age you have to feed them and give them a bath and stuff, that's like, that's your job. Like it's 14 hours, which even if it's fun and you're eating too, like I'm not eating every time. That's the thing. I rarely do I eat every meal with my son. I'll give him all the meals, but usually I'm like, no, I'm eating by myself later because I love you and I always want you in my life as much as you'll be in my life, but I need some alone time. And if you don't have a kid, you might be like, you should be around that kid all you can. And it does definitely affect me. Sometimes I'm more tired around him because I'm up later after him. But anyway, his new place, they're like, you can pick him up at noon if you want. And I'm just like, no, I need you to tell me, right? I can't know that I can get him at noon every day, because then I'll want to. And then if I'm just doing whatever, like, here's the thing. How often as a parent of like a 5 and under kid, especially if you're doing it mostly by yourself, do you get to like do something that's just like, do you get to like have a cup of coffee and read a newspaper? No one gets newspapers. I get one, not to brag. There's probably like 15 in front of my door right now, maybe like 10. I always forget to be like, hey, newspaper, I'm going out of town. So there's newspapers there. How cool do you think I am? I get newspapers. I get newspapers because when Jack was like younger, he really, whenever my phone came out, he'd just like grab it. So then I was just like, I'm going to read everything on my newspaper. And he's not really into that. We read comics together. I'm very much for spending money on something that you never would need again, ever. There's no need. Like newspaper was such a need-based thing, and now it's like an old sort of like, I don't think hipster is the word for it, but like this thing that you don't need at all, which is kind of like to me a movie theater. Like I have people like friends that have older kids that go to movies at movie theaters, and I'm just like, I can't. I've done it and it's fun, but when I hear them talk about it as if like that's a real option for them to do that, I'm just like, you can sit at home and do it and save all the driving. Anyway, movies come out to your TV the same. Who knows? I do miss the days of going to the movie theater, and that's the only place you could see it, but I'm not responsible for that. I'm not responsible for that. I think it's weird that when I was a kid, we had cable. There were like 30 channels, maybe like 50 at some point. And before that, we didn't even do cable. And then we got cable, and we'd turn the channel and be like, there's nothing on TV. I think I might have talked about that already. If not, get ready, because it'll come back someday. I think it's weird how I'll finish it. We're like, there's nothing on TV, and then all of a sudden now you can watch anything on TV, and it's so much that I'll try to figure out what I want to watch, and I'm like, that's like the majority of the time I get to spend on the apps or whatever, trying to figure out what's good to watch, because there's so much to think of. Like when it's just scheduled on cable, you just like watch what's there, and you deal with the situation you're in. Like, oh, this is what's on right here. I'm going to enjoy it. This is whatever. But when you can like download or stream, review everything, you're going to like, oh, I'll go to this streaming service. Oh, well, their shows are good, but their movies, don't watch their movies. And then you go here like, well, this is great, but you got to pay for everything's extra here. And then you go over here and like, well, this all has a specific tone. This is very dark. This is very, and then you're like, well, I can watch stuff I've watched before, but there's so much out there to watch. How do I know what to watch? And it's just a lot. So yeah. That's that. So anyways, Jack's starting kindergarten. I would just like some guidelines. That's all I would like. I mean, they kind of did. They're like, you can pick him up at noon, and he's not missing anything. Because they nap there still. That's the thing, too. What 5-year-old is napping? The only thing that does for me is, because that is preschool they napped too, the only thing it does for me as a parent is know that if I'm a bad parent, like it's bad. You keep your kid up late enough, that's bad. Like out here in the Midwest, I subtract 2 hours, we grade on a curve. You know, he went to bed at 10 o'clock. That's 8. That's almost perfect. He goes to bed at 8 in L.A., sleeps 12 hours. He's going to be late for normal school. But, like, for where he's now, but you go to bed really late in L.A., but they take a 2-hour nap at school. You're like, well, he's got a nap at school. Yeah, it's a waste of time if we go to bed early now. So, like, there's this meeting of two different. I should just ask myself what I should do, and hopefully it's not jump in a river. Because I can't break up with my kid. I can't. He's here. I can break up with the school, but he's here. I would never want to. I think that's what's interesting to me is like I've never been married, but I've never once been around my son and been like, I guess that sounds really bad. You can't really break up with your kid. Yeah, I don't really know how to talk about it. I do feel like there are hard moments, but I never feel like that defines the status of the relationship. And everyone listening is like, yeah, of course. You can't just be like, you can't sit a toddler down and be like, I feel like you're mistreating me right now. And so I'm not taking that anymore. So you can either stop or I'm going. And I'm going to move in with my parents, and you can do what you want. You can't do it. One fun thing I used to do. So I wasn't really allowed to cry as a kid. And I was like, it was frowned upon. So the tears just stopped. So now if I feel like I can cry, I like it. And so I end up listening to sad songs sometimes. And one thing that I like to do at one point was when it was really hard with a toddler, you know, like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 even, when they were really doing meltdowns, I would listen to like a breakup song about like the abusive partner emotionally usually, and just pretend it was about my son. And that was really fun. Listen to Noah's next time. If you have a toddler out there who's like has a really nasty day, where you like go to a park and they're like, that's where I want to go. And then you get them out of the car and they're like, no, that's not the one I want to go to. And then you go to get back in the car and they're like, no, that was the one, but I still want to go to that one. And then you take them back out and they're like, but I don't want to go to that one. And then you put them back in the car. And they're like, no, I wanted to go to that. Like when their brain is forcing you to be like, you don't get to say anything anymore and they're screaming at you. Listen to July by Noah Cyrus and imagine that you're talking about your kid. And it's just funny to me. To do that. Anyway, and there's other songs like that too, I'm sure. But she's talking about an abusive boyfriend, and it's fun to see the parallels between not an abusive toddler, just a toddler who probably needed a nap. So that's the benefit, I guess, of like the school that he's going to, is that if I want to do something like, oh, we're going to a Dodger game, I don't have to be like, we got to get home to go to sleep, because I know that if he doesn't get enough sleep, and Jack is a child who loves to be awake. I think all kids do. But if it was up to Jack, I'd wake him up after 3 hours of sleep, and he'd be like, let's live, you know? I wonder how little sleep he would be happy to wake up on. Because we've had early flights before I had to wake him up, and he's just like, this is great. Yeah, I always want to be up. What are you talking about? What are you talking about right now? Why are you sad? This is the best. We're awake. We got extra time. Anyway, I don't know if this is something that if I didn't know me, I would like listening to, even if I did. But moving on. So that's what helps. I think knowing that he can nap at school. If I'm like, we're going to do this thing, or if I have a late flight in where I'm not picking him up until like 6 p.m., I don't have to worry about like, we got to go to bed at 7, So that's good. That's good for another year. But there's just this sense of like structure and knowing that you have to do it. Like growing up, I grew up in a small town, so you went to that school or whatever, and that's just the schedule, and then you just do it. And I can do anything, but if it's up to me, I don't have the same value placed on doing the same thing every day if I don't have to. But that's why I'm a comedian, because I can do whatever makes sense for the moment. I do have some stuff listed here that I don't think I've talked about. But we did go to a baseball game, and Jack is extremely all about, I don't know if he's actually competitive or if he's just like, he likes knowing that everything in his life is better than what's in your life, which is interesting to be around, because like I have family members who I love very much, and they say certain things or talk a certain way or pass certain opinions around, and I'm like, and I listen to them and I consider them and I value them, but I'm like, if I wasn't related to them, I might be like, who is he to talk like that, And I feel like that's how it is with Jack a lot of the day. Like, and he's 5, so everybody gets it, I think. But like everything he does is like, did you have this in your life? And is this better than you? And the last time we went to a baseball game, it was the Dodgers versus the Rockies. And he didn't want us both to cheer for the Dodgers at the time. I think now he'd be more okay with it. But he was like, he wanted to be able to cheer for a team that would defeat my team. I don't think he realized that he could have lost too. So he was like, no, when something good happened for the Dodgers, he would be like, and I would cheer. He's like, no, Daddy. And so I'd have to cheer. I don't know if you know anything about going to a Dodger baseball game, but their fans don't like you to cheer for the other team a lot. And so I understand if that's your team. If the Rockies were my team, you got to cheer whoever you want to cheer for. But I'm not even a fan of the Rockies. And now I have to like pretend to be like, yeah, go Rockies. And it all worked out fine. I didn't get hurt. But that's something that I thought when it happened later on. That's how this works, right? You think about stuff and then talk about it. But yeah, we're going to get on a plane. What do you like to do on a plane? What do you like? So when I'm on a plane by myself, I'm a pretty heavy sleeper on the plane, because I've gotten to the point, and I think this is a very common thing with kids, when you're not around your kids, is just be like, where can I sleep right now? Because I don't have to not sleep, so I think I'm going to sleep right now. And so I consider airplane time, I'm going to sleep. I used to get frustrated when I would travel for shows and I wouldn't be able to sleep on a plane. I haven't felt that way in a very long time. And not because sometimes I'm always able to fall asleep, but I just respect the fact that I get to rest and be alone. And I think that's also why I don't really relate to the people being like, oh, I love my significant other, but they work from home and I just also enjoy alone time. I think it's because I spend a lot of time alone, and not just at this podcast, but like when you travel, and I like it. But when I get to be around people, I get very loud and excited, just like my son. No, I don't know if I get loud. I was in a restaurant celebrating my dad's birthday last week. We talked about that. The birthday, oh my gosh, what a great birthday. We went to this restaurant, and it was just so great. But there was a point, it was a circle table, and there was my mom, my dad, my aunt, and my son, and me. And I did myself last there, Mom. See, I listed myself last. My mom doesn't really watch these, but she used to always correct me when I would say me and my friend, or because you always put yourself last. And I don't know if that's true or if she's just like, we are a humble family. You will be last. I think it is true, grammatically speaking. But we were at this restaurant, and we were talking, and it was kind of it was a round table, not like a King Arthur size, but it was round, and there was a lot of noise around me, not only just because of my son, but that's not noise. So I'm talking to my aunt on the other side, and some other people. I'm excited because I'm out, When you can be out with your kid, an adult, and he's not freaking, he's coloring, he's doing a thing, and you get to do your thing, I'm excited. And I'm projecting, I guess. And my aunt tells me, like, you're shouting. And I don't think I was shouting. I think if I had been drinking, I might gotten loud because I don't think I hear it the same way everybody else does. But I think she was being a little too particular. I think that's just what I noticed, though. That means I'm excited to communicate this thing to you. And first off, you should be like, thank you for being so excited that you would put your vocal cords in a more compromised place by shouting over this thing. I don't know. We can be a loud family. My dad, when he picks me up from the airport, which is very nice of him to do, my dad has a rule. I don't know if it was passed down from his dad, but if you fly into their city, you're visiting them, he's like, I'm picking you up, And it's so fun because I'll go down the escalator at whatever, Midway or O'Hare, and he'll just a lot of times see me before I see him, and I'll be like, hello, Michael, like very welcome to Chicago. Like I feel like I get a welcome to Chicago, and also like 5 other people who just landed got a good welcome to Chicago. Like I can't, as a human person, fully use that welcome to Chicago for all my emotional needs because it's so plentiful. And I feel like that's where I'm at with with people in my life. My dad projects, and it is something that can be embarrassing, I guess. And maybe that's what she was saying, is I'm embarrassed of you. But I don't know. I'm defensive of people who tell people to be quieter. But maybe it's just a simple thing of like, stop yelling, you don't have to. That's probably what it is. Anyway, the birthday was great. My dad, we got 2 gifts for him. One was a hat that my son picked out last year. We would fly out of the airport when he was 3 or 4. He would, one time we forgot a hat. So we went to the store and he just picked out a hat, and I bought it for him, which they always talk about airport prices. I was taking the price tag off this hat we got from my dad at the airport a year ago, and they had the price of the hat, right, on this thing, on the hat, and then the store had put another price over that price that was like $10 more, and I'm just like, how much money do we need, right? Anyway, my son would pick out a hat every time we went to the airport for like 3 or 4 times in a row, and it was one of those things where like I like hats, so I was like, well, yeah, I'll get that for you, and I'll wear it, whatever. And then there was one that I was like, oh, my dad would like this hat, so I bought it. And I didn't let Jack wear it at all. And I put it in my closet. And I was like, hoping, I was like, I need to wait long enough so he doesn't, you don't want to give a gift to somebody and Jack to be like, no, that's mine. And he didn't remember it. So my dad really liked his hat. And then we got a good game, a board game. I bought my dad a board game. I say my dad, but I like playing board games with family because I love, and maybe this is going to be very clear where my son's coming from now. I love defeating people you love and feeling better than them over something that doesn't matter. And that's like a big, that's why I love board games so much, is because you can destroy somebody who you care about and feel better than them. And maybe not even better, but just feel better as a person. And it doesn't really matter. And I think I get where my competitive son is getting that from. But anyways, we're broadcasting live, but we're gonna head in. We got some packing to do. We're going on a plane tomorrow. What do you do when you fly? What do you do when you have kids? Let me know in the comments your favorite activities on a plane. I would like to find some new ones. I know I started off saying that in more of like I've said this a lot today way. I was like, can you believe I'm still asking what you do on a plane? But I always think of the moments where someone takes out a book and they read the book. There's a guy on the plane next to me on the flight in a couple weeks ago now. It feels like years. And he took out a book and he read it the whole like 3.5 hour flight. And and part of me feels like, oh, what a great, you probably got a lot of reading done, you know? That had to feel so good. Anyway, I think to wrap this up, I'm going to wrap it up. So we had some good times in the broom closet, 2 full episodes. I'll be back, but this will be the last one, I think, on the road for a while. Jack is asleep. I did put him to sleep, so this is real. And I don't remember anything else I talked about. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll be in a lot of different cities. I have a show in Chattanooga on Wednesday, maybe in Gaffney, South Carolina. I don't know. That's probably not going to work out. But Mount Vernon, Illinois on Friday. And then next week, I go to some more places that are not coming into my brain as quickly. Oh, I'm going to Long Island, New York. That's a really good club, Governors. If you don't go see me and you live in Long Island, it's a great place. And then I go to Fargo, North Dakota, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Kearney, Nebraska. And then I go to Alaska. I'm in Sitka and Juneau and Homer, Alaska, which is 4 hours from Anchorage. I just got an email from them right during this episode. And then long term, Chicago, Illinois, Zanies, December 30th just got added. And it looks like I'll be in Las Vegas back again July 28th, 2025, which is way too long for me to be away from Las Vegas. I just really wanted to go back there sooner, not because I like gambling. I just love working at that club. But you take what you can get, and you get what you can take. I just made that up. You don't always have to be at your best, but you do have to do your best. You can give up home runs, but you can't give up. That's Oral Hershiser. Oral Hershiser. Oral Hershiser. What a hard name to say. From my mouth, my vocals. All right, I've talked on, and I think I'll listen back to this and be like, you know, it wasn't the I'm not gonna say train wreck, but it wasn't the thing. It doesn't feel as bad listening as you thought. Or maybe I won't. All right, the end.